Okay, so far we made an index page. We saved that as an index page, and then we wanted to duplicate it for the about page, so we saved it again. We said saved as about page. Made that about page. I deleted parts I didn't need, like the carousel or other sections. I left some sections. I could change the content or leave it. I left this Jumbotron here. We changed some of the content. We added an image. I want that image to be large, go all the way across and fill my space. So I clicked on that image. I gave it a ID. I went to my CSS designer panel, my pizza CSS, and I made a specific rule just for that image. And we set it at 100% width. Well, that may be too large. Maybe I want it to be a little bit smaller than that. So I'm going to say 65. There's no right or wrong here, whatever you want. I'm going to say 65%. And, well, if I want to center that, then I can come here to my margins and do 0 auto, 0 auto. So auto on the right and left will center your website or your image. There we go. File, save all. So I have my 2 pages done. Now, if I want to make a contact page, I could file, save as, and save this about page as a contact page. Highlight the text, change the contact, change the image if I want, and add a traditional contact form just like we did before. But I can show you another way we can do this. We can do it the traditional way, or we can make a whole new page like this. Let's go to File, New. And Dreamweaver has some starter templates with some bootstrap templates, so some pre-made pages that could come in very handy depending on what business or institution you're creating a website for in this project. So I encourage you to look at some of these other ones on your own. There's resume, real estate, product, portfolio, e-commerce. You know, the e-commerce one might be good for menus. If you're doing a business one, real estate business, then this website or this page would be good for you. We also have what's called Bootstrap Agency. I'm going to click on that agency. I think we should do this one for the contact page and say create. And it's going to want us to save this page. I can call my page contact. Save. And it's going to copy some images over, some other files over. So I'm going to say copy. All right, there we go. So now you can see there's a lot of pre-made elements that we can just highlight and change. Looks like there's already a Jumbotron there, some other sections, some testimonials. So you can delete whatever you want, change some content. One of the main things I wanted this page for was this nice contact form that's already on there. But I wanted to have the same navigation bar as my previous pages. And I also wanted to have some of the same CSS rules as my previous pages. But if you look at my CSS designer panel, it just has Bootstrap. So I'm going to have to do a couple things. I want to copy and paste the navigation bar for my other pages. And I'm going to add my other CSS sheet that I had, which I call the pizza CSS sheet. So let me go to this contact page I have here. Let me go up here to the navigation bar area. And same type of thing in the DOM panel. I can see I'm going to go all the way top to my nav bar level. And I can right click, delete that. Good. Now I'm going to come over here to my about page or my index page. I'm going to select that highest level of that nav bar. If I go to the code side, source code, all that information should be selected now. All that are highlighted, all that information, all that nav bar information. Okay? And so I can just copy that. Command C or Control C on a PC. Come back to my contact page. Go to my code side. And I want that nav bar to be above what they are calling the header. So I'm going to hit enter, arrow up, and paste that nav bar code there. Okay, let me go back to my live view. And there's my nav bar. Same information, same links, but it does not look the same. There's a couple reasons why. Let's fix one of those reasons. If I go back to my about page or my index page, I can see that it has a bootstrap CSS, but also remember we made this second CSS page. Pizza, I call mine Pizza CSS. That gives us some of these more detailed CSS rules. So I'm going to come back here to my contact, HTML, and I'm going to add a CSS source. I could create a new one, but we already have it, so I'm going to attach an existing CSS file. I'm going to browse for it. All right, there's my folder, my CSS, and there's my Pizza CSS. And I'm going to say open. And OK. Give it a second. There we are. So I can see how there is already making some changes to this. If I had any other elements down here that I made CSS rules for previously, those would change also. Now, one more thing I want to do to make sure everything turns out the same, I go back to my About page, and I look at my source code side. I can see that everything is within the body, but it's also within a div class container fluid. My nav bar and everything else on that page is in that div class container fluid. So what I'm going to do is come to my contact page, source code, select everything that's within that body. Okay, not selecting the body tag, just everything that's within that body tag. Click and drag over. And we're going to insert a bootstrap component container fluid. Okay, and you can see now I put everything within that container fluid rule. Okay. Go back to the live view. And now the Jumbotron, since it's in the container fluid, just like my other page, is taking on those CSS rules that we made. All right, so now the pages are set up to look the same. Keep in mind, if I change anything on the CSS sheet, then all my pages with those specific elements will change. So now we have a contact page. you can definitely change all the content here. Add images, replace these images, replace this text, delete anything you don't want. If I don't want this testimonial section, delete that. If I don't want these different testimonials here, I can go to the specific section for that row, and I can delete the whole thing. There we are. It's up to you, however you want to arrange it. I can save this area, add different content, or I can come all the way to the top of this, which is in a container, delete that. Then I'm left with my contact form and some other information. So let's work on this contact form for a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is change this text. Contact us. Then we already made, this is actually set up in a Jumbotron. We already made rules for that Jumbotron, and they're carrying over to this one. I can make other specific rules if I want. I could change the label color, so I can make a CSS rule for the label. And I can actually change these labels. So I could click here, click the label, highlight it, and change it to something else. So I can actually leave it as name. I think email's good. And message. Or I could say questions and comments, whatever. I could also come over here to my name section, arrow up, my form, there's my first section, my first form group. I could right click and I could duplicate that. All right. Then I could come over here and change these. I could say address, I could say telephone, whatever I want. Down here, and I can change this guy. Down here, the placeholder text, I could say telephone. There we go. And I could do that a couple more times. I could come back over here, this form group selected, right click, duplicate, and I could say address. And put a placeholder for that one, address. There we are. I'm going to leave the email. I'm going to change it from saying message to questions or comments. And once again, I'm going to change this. Placeholder text for that text area to questions and comments. So that's entirely up to you, whatever you want to place in here. The send, I could leave it as send. Or I could highlight the text and change it to something else. I'm going to say submit. But you can see it will submit that form. Okay, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to preview this. Here we are. So there's our contact sheet form or our contact page. Obviously, you change this content here. It's my home page. And my about page. Test out with the different sizes. Everything's looking pretty good. Now it's up to you to change things around. I could always add a header to every page if I want. A larger header, a bigger image or logo or whatever above this header section here. It's entirely up to you how you arrange these. I'm just going to go back to my index page and see how we can change a couple more things. A couple more things we may be interested in changing. If I click back here in the background area, or on the body over here in the DOM, if I go to current, I'll see the body rule here, and I can change the background if I want. There we are. It takes a little time to catch up, but maybe that red background's better. I actually like that. I can do a background color, background texture image, or background gradient. Okay, well, I don't like this rule anymore. I don't like that background color, so I'm going to change that one. I changed that background color. Now my article is a little hard to read, so I have to come back to my article rule. I could put a background image in that, or I could just change all the text colors. Or, since I made some specific rules, my article H1 rule, I could just change the text color of the H1. A little slow here. There we go. I can come back here to my P or paragraph tag, and it looks like I have not made a specific rule for that, so I can go to my pizza CSS, all pizza CSS, and add a selector. Container fluid article P, good. And I'm going to change the text color of the paragraph text. Don't want to get too crazy. Should keep it pretty simple, either black or something short, close to black, or white, something close to white. There we are. Good. So I encourage you to experiment with your own composition, your own layout, and your own CSS rules. Good rule of thumb is once you get to a certain point where you like what you've worked on so far, you can always duplicate that whole website folder in case you keep working and mess things up. You always have that one to fall back on. So it's always good to have some redundant folders. Okay, so there's my tentative website. It's looking pretty good. So I have the home page, the about page, contact page. And of course, you're welcome to make more pages, either by duplicating a page you already have and making some changes, or going back through some of those pre-made template pages. Remember, you have to have 6 pages for this website, and it all depends on what your business or institution is. You know, I could add a menus page, catering page, events page, whatever you need to add.